name's Jackson Davis, and this is Sam Fragapane, right?
Yes, sir.
Yep. So today we'll be discussing Hellofresh and the interview process for the entry-level sales position.
So I'm going to start with the purpose of our research, and then Jackson's going to tell you a little bit about how Hellofresh goes about their current recruiting and interviewing process. Then we're going to explore some of the secondary research we did, and wrap it up and take some questions. So I guess to start, the purpose of our research is basically to show Hellofresh that a shallow interview process where they're just kind of looking for checked boxes as opposed to actually getting to know the person, that doesn't weed out any shallow candidates, and especially for a sales position you need candidates with some personality, just a little bit deeper. You need to get to know them. And then secondly, to identify the issues with their current interviewing and recruiting process, which Jackson actually has some experience with, so that benefits our group a lot. And then another part of the purpose is to just make sure Hellofresh knows that hiring the right people is the first step to getting their sales, increasing their sales, as you'll see in the next slide, which is part of the mission statement. So Hellofresh's mission statement is to provide meals, not ready-made, but like the ingredients to meals to every household in their market, without planning, shopping, or hassle required. If you guys are unfamiliar with Hellofresh, their business model basically is that they'll mail you all the ingredients to make some sort of meal that you wouldn't necessarily go to the grocery store and pick the ingredients for. And then their idea of no planning, no shopping, and no hassle is really valuable to customers, but not too valuable if they keep that same attitude in the interviewing and recruiting process, which kind of what we saw through our research. When you go to like places like Indeed or Glassdoor, not Indeed, like Glassdoor or other review places for employers, found that most people responded by saying that the interview process was very easy or not too in-depth or inefficient. So Jackson will actually go a little bit more specific about that in the next slide.
So the current interview process consists of a couple different aspects. It would start off with an online application. This application is normally through one of the third-party websites like Indeed or Glassdoor. It's then followed by an over-the-phone interview, normally someone from HR. Me personally, I spoke to someone from, I believe it was in New Jersey. Super nice woman, was in no way tied with the operations in Austin. Another aspect after that would be the online assessment, which included a couple of small essays, not necessarily personal ones, but more so about the operations day-to-day of Hellofresh. And then after that, essentially you would begin your training. I began training exactly 1 week after my initial online application. So it's a very quick process. It's something that I would consider to be shallow. Some alternatives that could be beneficial towards this process would be including an application through the company website. So when you draw potential candidates for applications through the company website, they have a much better idea of the activities going on through the operations. So mission statement, things of that nature. Setting up video conference interviews. This is something that doesn't have a high cost. It's something that can be done between a hiring manager and the applicants very easily. Personalized videos. This is another thing that has a very low cost, and it's actually up and coming through online applications. The consolidation period after the initial interview process. Like I said in the beginning, the training would start like a week after your initial application, which seems like a short amount of time. I think that there should be a consolidation period between the hiring manager, right, qualifying that applicant and deciding whether or not they're ready for the job. Moving on now.
And then just some of the research we did, I guess, by Mia Jose Bacavio, She basically was describing the impact of spending a little bit more on what she called people practices, which is basically just like onboarding, recruiting, like culture development, stuff like that. And basically, so this black area represents the revenue created by an employee when there's like no focus on people practices. The blue represents when there is. And as you can see right off the bat, you get more, or for a sales position too, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention. Both the people are working in sales positions. So first, as you can see, they start with an increased amount of sales just because right off the bat, you know, there was the onboarding and stuff like that. And then once it gets to about 2 years, without focusing on like your people and like company culture, stuff like that, you're gonna see a lack, or like a drop off in productivity and sales when you don't focus on people, and when you do, it's just gonna keep consistent and keep growing. And then right here is when the person actually comes to like the end of their time with the company and quits, which is pretty common with Hellofresh having very low employee retention. And essentially like they have to restart the cycle again, so they're gonna keep under this line forever. Whereas if you're focusing on your people, you're gonna keep growing because you know you have a low turnover rate, and the employee can just keep getting better and better at their sales job. And then I guess just continue on with explaining her research, Ms. Jackson.
So Maya Jose Bacavila, she really emphasizes the fact of the ELTV, which is the employee lifetime value, and she focuses on maximizing it. So having an emphasis on identifying the person who has the characteristics to fill that position. So someone who is motivated and driven, level-headed, loyal, and purposeful. So purposeful meaning towards the cause of the company. These 4 elements would be something that you would look for to have that long-term employee and to make it last, make the most of it. So from there, Maya shows it through this case study where this would be your traditional employee, someone who the hiring process might be shallow and they might not have the right fittings for the job, yet they're taken on board and they're given the chance. So the blue line would represent someone who is introduced through a new process, which offers a bit more beneficial ways of finding that right person for the job. So you can obviously see that you have a shortened ramp time of where they maximize their efficiencies. They have an increase on how high they can go, maximizing their efficiencies, and then increasing and then lengthening the time that person stays, which all these factors have an impact on the revenue of what's going on. So what we found was that although Hellofresh had no issues with attracting applicants, there was in fact a low employment retention rate. So to fix this, we think that Hellofresh should identify long-term employees and invest in them. So this could be done multiple different ways, hopefully through finding alternative ways that are currently being done. And this could be through personal videos, just basically a deeper and more efficient interviewing process. So there's many things I would say that I mentioned before, but I would think that the main issue would be to make the entire interviewing process more efficient by finding that person.